back for segment 3, Gold and Black Live. And you know what, John, this is living sitting down here. You know, I'm with John Basham. And if you come to Mackey Arena, you know John because he's kind of a bigger than life personality, but he's always seated down in these seats. About as passionate a Purdue fan as you're going to find, and yet you're also a competitive guy. You take you like the wins, the losses you never like.
No, I don't like to lose. I never like to be a bridesmaid. I don't like losing. Losing's not in my vocabulary. But I will take a beating when it's, deservable.
Yeah. And John, in the opportunity to sit this close to the action and watch these guys play, what impresses you the most? I mean, you've always sat close because you've sat in the corner, I know, for years here in Mackey Arena, but just being able to watch the caliber of athletes, student athletes you see here in Mackey Arena, do you end up getting used to it, or is it something that you still kind of marvel how good these guys are?
Well, not to avoid your question,
yeah.
let me start in the beginning.
Yeah.
In 1967, my back was to that outside wall, and I thought I was in hog heaven. Yeah. I saw Rick Mount and Lou Alcindor, Abdul-Jabbar, and it was the greatest seats in the world. I even remember what I wore.
Yeah.
And I slowly migrated down over to here, but there's nothing like being in Mackey Arena. I was sitting here again just admiring by myself here. Even when it's empty, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But you hear a little bit of the contact down on the floor. What I have done over the years, my voice has slowly quelched down because I do not want to get a technical on the home crowd. So, but it's great no matter where you sit in Mackey Arena.
It is great. We were just noticing that today. We've talked about it in the earlier segment. Is just the fact, just being in here is it, and it's got its own. You can almost sense that that big things happen here. We've seen some great things happen here over the years. Talk about that in the fact that, you saw Rick Mount, and you probably saw Rick Mount score 61 points in here as well, but you've seen some of your favorite moments in this building in terms of games that you remember that you'll never forget.
Well, my mind's a little foggy about it. I remember when I think we called him Skywalker, Arnett Holman.
Oh yeah, Arnett Holman.
And I remember Arnett Holman coming back on the floor. I believe we just beaten Michigan
State.
And it was quite a game. That resonates in my history of Mackey. There's many of them. Joe Barry Carroll, called him the aircraft carrier. Herman Gilliam, Billy Keller, and then stepping it up a little bit. I remember Terry Dischinger didn't play here. He was at building over. But then we move on up. There's just so many great ball players here at Purdue University over the years.
You guys can't see, but if you were over your Keith, who's manning the camera, Arnett Holman's shot about where Brian and Tom are standing. You had Robbie Hummel, which Travis Carroll talked about in segment 1. That game against Ohio State, a game Purdue lost. In his first half, he makes about 8 3-pointers. That was pretty memorable as well.
29 points.
Yeah.
I believe Robbie had 29 points the first half, and then I believe it was Turner that won the ball.
What a show he put on in the second half.
Second half, he beat us.
Yeah.
I haven't missed very many ball games here in Mackey. Again, I've said everywhere, and there's not a bad seat.
Yeah. It's funny because even if you sit at the top of this building, and it isn't very far away, and you hear about that, but it's changed obviously with the chair back seats and all of that, right. and the renovation. What did you like most about what they did with the renovation in terms of not just the seating, but just the whole ambiance of the facility?
Well, I'm happy they did not put that visitors tunnel in.
Yeah.
That would have reduced more seats. Happy? I was happy before.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. But if it brings in some good ball players, it looks at the environment here and it brings them in, then hey, let's do it. I know they got great facilities to our left for the athletes.
You look at your role. Obviously, your business life is a lot of it is student housing and dealing with students on a day-to-day basis, and you deal with a lot of your company does. How have they changed, do you think, over the years, even to the days when you were in school and I was in school? How has that student changed now, the ones that you deal with these days, that you've not only rent apartments, but you deal with them too? You have to work with them.
Well, first of all, we got about 1,000 students here at Purdue. I've had many athletes that rent from me. Got a couple more that's on the basketball team that may be coming our way.
Uh-huh.
But kids are kids. I mean, through the decades, not much has changed. I mean, I've been doing this 35, 37 years, and I don't see much of a change. Kids are kids. They're good people, and just treat them right. They'll treat you right.
You talk about winning and what it takes to win in the business life, and you've obviously been able to do that. Purdue men's basketball's lost, had losing seasons the last 2 years. You know Matt Painter well enough to know he's a pretty competitive guy. What needs to change? What do you say, if you're looking just from your perspective? What do you think needs to change outside of just scoring more points than your opponent? What do you think from an organization standpoint? What needs to get done to turn this thing around?
Well, I feel like that's a question in the political arena. I'm afraid to.
You can answer it.
Well, I know we got another point guard coming in. One of the things I saw about the team last year, and I'm not the coach, and the coaches and everybody recognize that, you got to get the ball in the paint.
Yeah.
And if you can't get the ball in the paint, then you're in trouble. And if you do get the ball in the paint, and you can't hang on to it, or if you haven't worked on your jump hook, then you're in trouble. But you got to have the right chemistry, no matter what it is. Baseball, basketball, football, you have to have those players have to like each other. And you just have to have a balance. I really can't give Coach Painter any advice. The only thing is I'm fond of the press, the zone press. I got a 2-2-1 I think would stop any team in the nation called the bottleneck press. I like zones, 1-3-1 zones. But I know Coach Painter doesn't like zones, and I can see why. It takes teamwork to even play a zone. Yeah. So, because the other guy on the weak side can get lazy when the ball's on the strong side. But advice, I don't have any advice.
Yeah. But that is part of the reason why you go to games, and it is part of the fun of doing it, is be able to analyze what goes on and say, you know, if this was me, this is what I do, and yet you also have to let coaches get the job done from this standpoint. It doesn't turn, you know, are you watching much of the NCAA tournament? Have you had much time to watch any of it? It's still what Purdue wants to get to back to sooner than later.
No, I haven't seen much of the tournament yet right now. I've been busy over on apartments right now, but I thought I had a phone call here from the president that they're looking forward for Purdue next year in the tournament.
There you go.
And I think we'll be there.
And maybe someday Barack Obama will pick Purdue to win a couple games in his bracket. He's only got a couple more years left to do that from that standpoint. Well, John, it was great to spend a few minutes with you. We always enjoy that. We appreciate not only your support of our program, but the fact that you get to sit in your seats down here. That's a lot of fun to do that as well. And it won't be long. You know, it's amazing. College basketball starts with the exhibition games about Halloween anymore.
Right.
So we'll be back with the opportunity to watch the Boilermakers in 2014, 2015. And part of the fun of this can be, even though we've had disappointments the last 2 years, is watching that ride go back up. Watch that team go back up the ladder, and you have to be hopeful that can happen.
I think I cheer more. I even though I cheer for the basketball team, I cheer more for the paint crew.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids come out and they weather the storm. Yeah. They wait in line, and if that ever goes away,
it's a big part of the personality in this building.
Sure is.
Right. All right. Well, we want to thank John, and we want to thank our guests Travis Carroll and Tom Mitchell for joining us today. We had a lot of fun with the show today, and certainly to Keith Patton and Gordon Jackson here on site, and the folks at WLFI, Allie and Kim, all the work that they did to make this happen today. The Mackey Arena facilities crew, Tom Schott, certainly very helpful to us to getting this all put together, but they were very gracious to be able to do this. We'd like to make this our weekly venue, but we like being back on our set. Now, we have one more show for the rest of this year. I'm not exactly sure where we're going to do it. Probably either April the 11th or April the 18th. We'll talk a little bit of spring football, get the end of the spring football practicing, and look ahead to the rest of the sports season. But we've had a great time this year, and thanks to John also to Triple X, and of course our friends at Hilton Garden Inn, State Farm agent Trent Johnson for all their support of our program. So we'll see you maybe in 2 weeks, maybe in 3. Check the net, our website, and WLFI. We'll keep you posted when our next show will in fact happen. So again, thanks to all down the line. Thanks to you for watching and listening and sending us your questions, and we'll look forward to talking to you and hearing from you just down the road on Gold and Black Live. Have a good weekend, everybody, and it's going to get warm someday. Thanks.
Go Boilers.
Yep.